Good morning, Group 5. Sorry for the delay. I've been kind of under the weather really bad this week. I'm trying to get back with you, and since your presentation was finally put together and posted, I think, on Wednesday, so my apologies for getting to you late. Wanted to give you some feedback on your presentation so you can try to get it together this weekend and post it back up no later than Sunday so that your peers can have the holiday weekend and throughout the rest of the course, I guess, to finish up this paper. I'll probably give you to like the 29th or something. Okay, just starting from the beginning, let me see if I can press play for you. Doo-doo-doo-doo. All right, so far, um, money is attraction. After looking at your entire presentation, I get why you start off with this first slide, perhaps. But when you start off a slide with just an image and it doesn't have any text or something to define it, no title or anything, then this doesn't really help. Also, all your slides, like the rest of the slides, you can look at your previous slides from your peers. They all begin with the title, and at least the names of the members in the group and the group name. So the first slide, this should not be your first slide. It's an attention grabber. Perhaps you should add some other things to it. I guess it kind of gives you an indication of what to look forward to in the presentation, but starting it off with just a plain image with no background, when people know what your presentation is supposed to be, this doesn't help. I suggest you not let this be your first slide, or you actually use this as the backdrop image and you use some black lettering or something and put the name of the slide, the group, and the participants. Same thing with this one. This one kind of sits here and it doesn't really say or do anything other than, since I've looked at your entire presentation, I suspect I know where it's going. But by it just being plain imagery, with no text, visual, or nothing to help explain it, it doesn't really make sense. Perhaps that's a presentation style, but my preference is that you actually, each slide has a purpose, and this is kind of leading but doesn't direct without any text. And again, know where you're going with it related to the first. I don't want to, you're implying with visual impact. I get it, but still, you can't start off a presentation um, with just images because I've not read any text yet. So you're setting my mind up, and perhaps this is a presentation trick. My preference is for you to start the presentation with, like I said, the title, the name of the group, and the participants in the group. So this is your first slide. It pretty much says Epsilon Group 5, given the, you start with your title here, and then in lettering alone, A, C, and E, as opposed to, your overall topics are going to be 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C, but you're using A, C, and E. And by the way, I thought I indicated that you had to give a total of 5 responses, and you're only giving 3 in the presentation, right? Off the bat, you're missing 2. So perhaps there's a miscommunication. You may have to have 2 additional comments that you want to speak to. But other than that, promoting sustainable economic growth and job creation, moving toward a clean energy future to reduce dependency on energy imports while curbing greenhouse and gas emissions, and then developing the technologies to protect our troops, citizens, and national interest. Okay, I get it, but if the presentation is identified STEM challenges, so promoting sustainable economic growth and job creation. So let's look at that. Your next slide says, given the U.S. identified STEM challenges for 2012, recommended the role of government, blah, 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 based on the information responses below. Sustainable STEM growth, creating and maintaining a research facilities for nanotechnology. Okay, thank you, because I was getting concerned. I wasn't sure where you were going with this. Provide for teaching scholarship and funding for new areas in science and new technologies, creating new research for a cleaner society. Get your points. They're great points in understanding to help promote a sustainable economy. These are the 3 things where we need to focus on. A, from your presentation, I'm not sure what nanotechnology is or disease control and why these are important. B, provide for teaching scholarships, funding new areas of science and new technologies. I'm not quite sure what these, why saying teaching and why scholarships. So I kind of get it. I know exactly what you're saying. Your readers will not have a clue of why you've indicated this because all you said was you stated it. You haven't said why. You haven't given people examples. They won't know what these things are. And then create new research for a cleaner society. Why is it important to have a cleaner society? So when you introduce these concepts, you're doing a presentation, you're all online. If you don't give your peers an opportunity to understand what these topics are and why they are important, then it won't make a lot of sense to them. So you need to revamp these slides or perhaps address each of these slides individually. You have to say what they are and why they are important and why you're recommending that they are important versus something else. And even if you don't even talk about the something else, you're assuming that people know what nanotechnology is and what disease control is. You're assuming that people will understand automatically based off your recommendation that provide for teaching and scholarships to fund new areas of science and new areas of technology. Is nanotechnology and disease control, are these the new areas of science and technologies? You're making me guess too much. The reader's guessing too much. You don't control this presentation. And then create new research for a cleaner society. What is a cleaner society? So this is your first point, and you break it down to these sub points. You're raising more questions than you're answering. Some more. Provide research and control of global warming. Combine the public and private research facilities and universities to promote higher education for the world. And if we're talking about the U.S., and why we're talking about promote higher education for the world, though I think I know where you're going with this because these are some of the actual points. Combine the exploration of space and Earth. Why? And further research is needed for global communications. And there's a typo there in global communications. You're missing the N. But again, same factors. What are these things and why are they important? So these are a total of 7 points so far. These are your sources, which are good sources. It's the place where you need it to go. So, but it's typically at the end of your presentation. And then you go to the second part of your slide, which is moving towards a clean energy for future to reduce dependency on energy imports while curbing greenhouse gas emissions. Then you give me my 5 bullet points. So I'm thinking the presentation's over, and now I have this. So I'm not sure how this is connected. If this is, you did the A, C, and A, so is this C now? Or is it E? I can't quite recall because, again, I'm still playing with the order. This is important. This is kind of broken down a little bit more. Provide international emissions trade to lower costs, putting a cap on emissions and permit trading. Having trade protocols and restrictions, a committee to enforce emission leaks worldwide and limit carbon leaking. I know what these are. You are on the right path. I'm not sure if this is part of the 5, and it really doesn't explain what emissions are and why this is important. And so the slide just kind of says some points, and it doesn't give any background, even some bullet points that explain to your user what this is and how does it relate to the other points that you mentioned at first. So, and besides, you indicated one thing already, and then you indicated 7 or 8 particular bullet points behind that. I'm not sure if this is 9 or 10, so I'm getting a bit confused. There's an image. Okay, I think I get it. I get it. That's a cute image, but it doesn't necessarily imply I get it. I'm not sure if other people would get it as it pertains to this. And just doing your presentation is done. Oh, I thought it was more. So what I'm getting from this is that this is kind of I want to call it piecemeal. Okay, your graphic is kind of distracting. It's not really doing anything. I think I'm at the end. I think I'm expecting a slide afterwards, actually. And there's nothing. All I see is a bunch of tricks with your image, as you can see on the screen. So let me just stop. Let's see. I thought it was another image. So there's a problem right there. You're playing with the graphic image here, so I couldn't get to the 10th slide easily, which is the last one. Develop technologies to protect our troops, citizens, and international and national interests. Focus on getting better results when using new technologies. Focusing on improving the security. These are good. It goes to your last point. If I go back to your, was it 5th slide or 6th slide where you're talking about, no, it was your 4th slide. When I go back to your number 4 slide where you're talking about A, C, and E, so this is just talking about your last one. The presentation overall is disjointed. You can tell first, if you're talking about promoting sustainable economic growth and job creation, which is your first point, by the time you get to slide 6, you're giving some details, specific strategies. I'm assuming is that what these are, and then you've given me 4 more, but I don't know what these are and why these strategies are, why they're important versus other things. I don't see any kind of comparison or something, so that's what concerns me on that one. Then you include the sources. Are these the sources just for the top, or are these the sources for all the points that you mentioned? So I'm thrown off because of the location in the slide. So some reorganization would be important for here. Again, when I went to this slide, this was your second point, I believe, based from slide 6. Provide teaching scholarships and funding for new areas in science and new technology. So I go to slide 9. And then it really isn't related to the point that you brought up as I now go back and look. Not to mention that this graphic here was preventing me from getting to the next slide. I pressed it about 8 times and I still hadn't gotten to your last slide. So now I'm kind of confused. If I look at it in the overall flow, I'm not sure the role of this one. And then the 10th slide, again, from slide number 6 where you were introducing your points, create... I'm sorry, I must have been on slide 4. Yeah. So if this is the fourth thing you mentioned for yourself, developing the technologies to protect our troops, I think that's an actually very good one, and I know that is part of what's mentioned. So that's pretty much your last slide. Focus on getting better results when using new technologies. Focus on improving. These are specific strategies. These are recommendations which are good. What you're not doing is saying why this is important over something else, like disease control or whatever. So I'm not getting that connection. It's just your recommendation. So it's not bad. It's just I'm not sure why you're recommending what you're recommending, I guess, from most of your presentation. So you're giving recommendations and strategies, but since you're doing something online and you're not giving any background on it and explaining why these are important, that doesn't help the reader understand and connect to your points. So overall, I think they're very, very, very good recommendations if your group have determined that these are the recommendations. Your problem here is primarily with some ordering of things and some explanations, plus just how you present things with the beginning parts of the slide. I get it, your 3 main points, though this one seems to, the last 2 images seem to go towards your last point. This one seems to go to your first point, so there's nothing really covering your second point, I don't believe, which is move towards a clean energy future to reduce dependency on energy imports while curbing greenhouse gas emissions. The only image I see for that is at the slide that I have problems with on slide 9, which would be this. So be consistent if you're going to go through that and use imagery to start off your presentation, but still, don't start your presentation off without an explanation so people will know what this presentation is going to be about, who did it, and in particular, your group. Okay? So that's my feedback for your presentation. Good recommendations. I really like your recommendations. They're good. The problem is it's just simply order and flow. I'm not understanding that. So I look forward to you all revamping this. Take a day or so the weekend, revamp it together, put down all the participants in the group. And then don't forget, once you finish, you don't have to do a paper for your project. You simply have to do the peer group evaluation forms. And I'll try to post that to you guys as well so you can get that done between now and the end of next weekend. All right. Have a great one. Good luck and enjoy the holiday. I look forward to your results. And I will probably just FYI posting up the information so you all can start posting your individual STEM presentations. I'm going to work on that today. Take care. Bye-bye.